it's the big stuff that we got to worry about for bad days, rather than just all the time. You know, so I always feel like you're either going up it or you're either going forward. You're kind of going back down. There's no like rest areas or rest stops, scenic overlooks all the way up that you can just hang, you know.
Okay,
So I think that's another.
Okay, we have our fourth and final speaker this afternoon. Another fun talk by Brady Small. Him and his wife have been married since 2011, and shortly after they got married, they decided that serving together was really important. So one of the things that they started to serve in was the marriage ministry here at SBC. So they were mentor couples for several years, and now Brady is going to, actually he's one of our youngest speakers on the docket this term, so we're really excited to have him. Him and his wife are expecting a baby in October, but just in case it comes early, and if he gets a phone call and just quickly leaves, you'll know why. But let's welcome Brady Small.
How's it going? All right, so 3 people are doing all right. So I appreciate the laughter there. I do enjoy comedy, but I'm not really that funny, so just the courtesy laughs would be great along the way. One person over here got it. So we've SBC and Roger and Rose specifically set up some really great speakers who have really in-depth knowledge about marriage and communication and finances and sex, and you'll hear about some of those things later in later weeks. But I'm here just to talk about the first 5 years of marriage. So you're going to get the unfiltered version of the first 5 years of marriage. So if there's something you want to know or a question that you have, interrupt me. Because if I'm standing up here just telling stories about my life, that doesn't do anybody any good. So I want to know what you guys want to learn. And you will notice that for my notes, it's just a blank piece of paper. The design behind that is I didn't want to direct your thoughts. If something hits you, write it down. You get in what you put out. So if you don't take any notes, you probably won't remember anything. And that's fine by me. I'm here to invest in you. And I hope you do get something out of it, and I hope you do take notes. But again, if there is something you want to know or have questions about, please let me know. And all of the things that we've heard, don't wait to apply those. And I have a quote, and I'll say it's anonymous because I just don't remember who it was. And this is simply because the chains of habits are too light to be felt until they are too heavy to be changed. Apply what you're learning now. Because you're going to create habits as you get into marriage, and they're too light to feel now, but when they need to be changed, they'll be too heavy. All right. Roger.
Yes.
Hit me with that next. So, thanks. My PowerPoint really is just going to be a bunch of random pictures to keep your attention, and then I'll go through my points. So I'm going to turn my back, which is like breaking Presenters 101. And men, I want 3 things that you think the group wants to learn today or walk away with. We may not get to them, but just give me 3 things. Somebody fire away.
How to love my wife in an understanding way.
That's too long, so I'll just write how to love wife.
Patience. I have more patience.
Patience. Yeah, go with that.
Problem solving skills whenever you have an issue arise, just being equipped with the tools.
You win that argument, that's what you do. All right, now ladies, which one of your men asked you what you wanted to learn about? Oh, David, trapped you. Pagine, did he ask you?
Never.
Lesson number 1, always ask your wife. That was a trap. We're not going to talk about any of these things.
It's a trap.
All right. Next slide, good sir.
Okay.
So this is a
Clicker. My name's Clicker.
clicker.
Yeah.
This is an engagement photo. I think it was. Do what?
The baby.
Yeah, I know. They look so young. So my wife and I, Jenna, and she's unable to be here today. She had a work engagement. I mean, somebody's got to be making that money. So I'm here. She's not. So we met in school. A little bit of the backstory on how we got to here, and I got to stay in the camera's line of sight. I apologize. So my parents always told me, if you don't see yourself marrying someone, why would you be dating them? Sound advice, right?
Sounds good.
A couple head nods, maybe. All right. And when you go to a small Christian university, there are some negative connotations with dating multiple people. So I was in this process, and again, I told you I'm going to be transparent about our experiences, and yours may be different. Keep that in mind. If anyone's familiar with Matt Chandler, he said the first 6 years of marriage were extremely difficult. Mine and Jenna's have been really good. Yours may be on either end of the spectrum, maybe in the middle, but there's one thing that's going to be consistent throughout, is you don't know what you're getting yourself into. So you better be prepared to have grace and love all the way through. Sidebar, back to it. So I was dating these people, and that piece of advice was sticking in the back of my mind. I just don't see myself marrying this person. And so we date for a couple weeks, and then I'd move on to the next person. And I know I'm making it sound just like no big deal, but a lot of stuff happened in the middle there. But Jenna kind of caught me in this cyclical process. I just didn't see the relationships going anywhere. And so in my mind, it wasn't fair to them or me to keep that going just because. And Jenna and I started dating. And again, it was about 2 weeks. And I'm like, I'm just not feeling this. You know, Jenna, let's kind of do our own thing and find no big deal. But then I get this really weird and bizarre feeling. I had never felt this way since, and I have never felt this way since that time. Or I never felt this way before that time, and I never felt this way since. And I could not put my finger on what was going on. And so I entered this point in my life where I'm like, all right, I'm not going to date anybody. I've got to figure this out. God, what do you want me to do? And I'm sitting at my desk being extremely studious, trying to get that 2.9 that I earned so well. And in walks Jenna. And I go, holy crap. Oh, sorry. Holy cow. That's it. And I would love to say that God, just shined this light down, just boom. But we were inside the house, so. But it was, my heart was like, dude, that's it. Go get her. And I'm like, well, I gotta get this papers due tomorrow. What am I supposed to do? Hey, Jenna, you know. So over the course of time, I went to her and I said, I apologize, and explained this kind of cyclical process that I was in and the advice that my parents had gave me. You know, the one time I decided to listen to my parents, it maybe wasn't the best advice, but just kidding. And thanks, David. And
Courtesy laugh.
Courtesy laugh. Hey, let's call it for what it is. So when we started dating again, we didn't acknowledge it at the time, but we definitely knew that God had put each of us in each other's lives. Not to say it's perfect. This is not I'm not going to put up some Facebook or Instagram face that's hey, we're like the power couple and we're perfect. That's not the case at all. We knew after a month of dating that we both wanted to get married to each other. Again, we did not verbalize it at that time. However, after a year of dating, I did propose to her. She said yes. We were engaged for 2 years, and then we ended up getting married. And I think that takes us to the next slide. Yes. So if you're wondering what's going on in this picture, because this will provide context, again, it's just supposed to grab your attention a little bit. The illustration here. So that's me and my brother. You can't really see our faces, but it is absolute despair. Because that is an 800-pound deer stand that we were trying to lift 10 feet in the air. And if you'll notice, there is no crane, there is no large tractor, there is the two of us, a trailer, and a little wee razor over there. So we are trying to figure out how to get that thing up. The point being, we are struggling in this picture. Jenna and I struggled. We both attended a Christian university, but I was struggling spiritually. And I can tell you exactly why. At MNU, great school by the way, you just got to get through a couple things. You were required to go to chapel Tuesdays and Thursdays. Well, that chapel we went to also happened to be the same church that I attended on Sundays. So I would walk into the door, and it was like the same routine over and over again. And at chapel, they would just make you go to go. And they didn't necessarily have speakers lined up. It's just you get in there and they'd be like, okay, so today for lunch we're having Salisbury steak. It won't kill you today, but it might tomorrow. And so to me, it was getting to be a waste of time. And if you didn't go to chapel, you got fined. That doesn't make sense. You don't go to church, you get fined. So that was a tool of man that I let get in the way of my relationship with Christ. And because I let that get in the way of my relationship with Christ, Jenna and I, did someone draw the triangle, the spiritual, emotional, physical triangle? Was that drawn?
Not this time, no.
Oh, dang it. I was really counting on that. I might mess it up. But imagine a triangle. There's 3 sections: spiritual, emotional, and physical. This is the way it's supposed to go. You set the foundation of the spiritual, and I apologize, didn't make time to get into all of this because I thought it would have been talked about. But if anyone wants to know, I can talk to you about it later. Then you build the emotional, and then when you're into marriage, you introduce the physical. Well, when the triangle is like this, and you start down here, you're going to be teetering. So we got physical. Our spiritual lives, while we didn't turn our backs on God, they were not as strong as they should have been. The Bible is very clear about being physical before marriage, and we ignored it. And yes, we have a great relationship now, and I love my wife more than ever, and I love her every day. But you know what attracts me to her more is when she goes, "Hey baby, I was praying for you today. I know you got that presentation coming up, and there's going to be all those people staring at you. They're going to be giving you fake laughs, but I prayed for you." I'm like, David, always pulling through for me, brother. And I'm just going, I love you. That's what makes me love you. Yes, she's a beautiful woman, even when she's pregnant. When she's very pregnant. But when she's telling me she's praying for me, she respects me, she's thankful for the work that I'm doing, all the travel that I go through, that I did the dishes, picked up the clothes, that's when I love her. That's when I love her. So we messed up. We started here. And to this day, so sin has consequences, right? We acknowledge that. To this day, we are still turning this over. So there will come a day when my 2 daughters ask me, "Dad, did you and Mom wait to engage in physical activity before marriage?" And we're going to have to tell them the truth. I will pay for that sin. I paid for that sin in this class when we were table mentors and we got asked that question by the people we were mentoring. I paid for that sin. I paid for it in the sense that we're still turning this around. This is, and I am embarrassed to admit that it took until I turned 28, 29, 30. This is the most important thing in my life. And it took me, I'm not going to say I wish my journey was different because it's brought me to where I am. I'm not going to say that. I'm very thankful for the work God has done in my life. But we started off on the wrong foot. There is a very good reason, statistically, and I'll get to it, statistically, if you're engaging in physical activity before marriage, if you abstain from doing engaging in physical activity before marriage, you're statistically more likely to have better sex and a happier marriage. The Bible told us this thousands of years ago. That study that I'm referencing is a secular study. It's no joke. And there's a reason we talk about it. Statistics back it up, the Bible, and more importantly, the Bible backs it up. So we started off on the wrong foot. We had our individual walks, but we weren't pulling them together. So, courtship. Oh, next slide. Sorry. Clicker. Courtship, basketball, get it? All right. So, I have no words, other than I have no words.
You got 2 clickers going.
Yeah. Cue the laughter. So during a courtship phase, Jenna only attended Mid-America for 2 years while I spent 4. When she left, she went to New York, and at this point we entered a long-distance relationship. Imagine your relationship being built on the physical aspects when you are not around each other. We paid for that sin. Again. So we had to spend time trying to turn this around. And we didn't think about it. We knew in the back of our minds, but whether we actually brought it to the frontal lobe and processed it, we knew this. We did. We ignored it. So we were dealing with long distance. And after she went to New York, she went to Wyoming University for a semester because she realized she wanted to be a speech-language pathologist. And man, is she the best speech-language pathologist you will ever meet. I was working my 3rd job of the day, and I had made up my mind that it was stupid for me to be apart from the woman that I wanted to marry. At the time I lived in Kansas City, so it's a 13, 14-hour drive.
Go Chiefs.
Oh, I'm not Chiefs fan, sorry. And I had decided I'm moving. I'm leaving my job, I'm leaving my community, I'm leaving my church, and I'm going. Because she is the woman I want to spend my life with. I get a phone call while I'm at the restaurant, and I'm like, hey, what's going on? She's like, I'm moving down there. This is stupid. I'm like, woo, thanks, baby. I was about to leave. I was kind of scared. Didn't have a job. So God works in mysterious ways, because we hadn't talked about it a ton to that point, but I was like, I've got to get up there. I want to be with her. I've got to get up there. We'll move to the next slide. So once we were finally back together, this was my college graduation, but the illustration is always and continually learn about your spouse. Get your high school diploma, get your college degree, get your master's, get your PhD, continue to learn. So during that time when we got back together, I was starting to learn more and more about my wife. Because there's 2 ways to know people, right? Like, we'll acknowledge this. Like, you can know about me. You can know that I'm a white male, roughly 6'3", just extremely handsome, and those types of physical attributes that you can see. But to know me, to get to know me, my likes, my dislikes, you would have to spend time with me. So I can know my wife, or I can know my wife. Because adding emphasis on the word changes the meaning. So learn their likes, learn their dislikes. What upsets them? What makes them happy? We tend to focus on the things that make them happy, but what about the things that upset them? If me crop dusting my wife upsets her, maybe I shouldn't do that. And I can guarantee it does. If anyone's wondering what crop dusting is, I'm not going to say it for the recording, but just ask somebody at your table. I've gotten so sidetracked. I apologize. I told you this is gonna be real. Any questions so far? I've been talking a lot. I just want to provide an opportunity. All right. You guys learning stuff? Is this
What
helpful?
was your penalty for not going to chapel?
Oh, it was like community service and $50 fine.
Not a money fine.
No, it was a money fine. Yeah, yeah. So the question was, what was the penalty for chapel? And you got fined. And in college, man, $50, that's a lot. It still is. Not much has changed. That's still a lot of money.
That's true.
Yeah, yeah, especially with kids. Yeah. Whew. Don't think how much something costs and the hours it took you to earn that money. That is just painful. That is not in my presentation. Back to getting to know your spouse. Proverbs 18:15 says, "The heart of the discerning acquires knowledge, for the ears of the wise seek it out." The heart of the discerning acquires knowledge, for the ears of the wise seek it out. It says ears and heart, not mouth, not brain. Ears and heart. Hearing is an act of the senses. Listening is an act of the mind. I can hear my wife. I do not always listen to my wife. She is always giving me clues, hints. Pay attention, gentlemen. Pay attention. Christmas is coming. Oh, honey, you see this mug? Yeah, I really like that. I haven't got one of those. Those are nice. Write that down. Write that down. Okay, we are going to give me 2 clicks. We're going to skip the activity. If y'all were being really dry, I was going to make y'all get up, push you to the sides, play a little game, but we won't do that. You've been a great audience, so thank you. I'm going to take a drink. We've seen this, right? I, Brady, take thee, Jenna, to be my wedded wife, to have and to hold from the day forward, for better, for worse, for richer, or poor, in sickness and in health, to love and to cherish till death do us part, according to God's holy ordinance, and thereto I pledge myself to you. Next slide, please. So we probably notice these. Better, richer, and in health. Those are the things that we want. And rightfully so. Well, understandably so. Next slide, please. But what about these? For worse. What was that?
I never saw those.
David never saw them. For worse, for poor, and sickness. Ooh, till death do us part. Everyone understands what death means, right? I mean, that's serious language. That is serious language. This is saying, I will be who you need me to be regardless of who you are. This is covenant language, my friends. This is covenant language. I pledge myself to you. I give of myself. I die to myself. I've had to get to the point now where every morning, and it was funny, I had my feet like hovering over the floor this last time because I don't want my feet to hit the floor before I do it. But I have to pray that I die to myself and serve my wife. Because my flesh wants to protect and serve itself. Next slide, please. So this is a wedding picture. Duh. And I want to create the distinction between covenant and consumer relationship. So I have and this picture hopefully is depicting both of those, covenant being on the marital side and consumer with the shopping cart. So I have a consumer relationship with 32 Shea. The second they stop making Nutella mochas, I'm out. And if you've never had them, they're delicious. I highly recommend them. That is a consumer relationship. You be who I want you to be, and as long as you are that thing, I'll stick around. But a covenant relationship is saying, no matter what happens, I'm here. I will be who you need me to be regardless of who you are. And imagine if both people are doing that. It's powerful. I can't remember the context of it, but I can remember when my wife has done this to me. I can remember when she has been who I needed her to be, even when I wasn't who she needed me to be. That's love, folks. That's love. That's grace. That's what our Creator gives us. That's what Jesus gives us. I'm going to be who you need me to be, even though you're sin-filled. It's powerful stuff. And I hope we can grasp that. Because the moments that Jenna has done that, I have known in my mind and I have felt in my heart that she loved me more than she loved herself. This is big. I mean, covenant relationship is what you're about to enter into. Because if you're entering a consumer relationship in marriage, the vows would sound a little more like you have to make $60,000 or more, you can't weigh over 210 pounds, and we're going to have 2 boys and a girl. And if you don't do those things, I'm out. That's consumer. That would never work. Who can meet those expectations? Philippians 2, 3-4. Do nothing. Nothing. I think we all know what that word means. From selfish or empty conceit, but with humility of mind, regard one another as more important than yourselves. Do not merely look out for your own personal interests, but also for the interests of others. Does everyone know who Simon Sinek is? Raise your hand if you do. Couple. Okay. So Simon Sinek is, I think that's the best way to describe him. He's an extremely intelligent, powerful leadership coach. Just YouTube him, you'll watch one of his videos, and you'll be like, I can lift the world on my shoulders. Like, he's that good. He has often said, if you want to be successful in the business world, if you want to be a successful leader, find someone else who wants to be successful and help them achieve that success. Philippians 2, 3-4 said this thousands of years ago. As far as I know, Simon Sinek is not a believer, but he may be, so I don't want to put words in his mouth. Oh, I keep forgetting that this isn't changing. Next slide, please. Sorry. So, does this chair look sad to anyone else? Because it totally didn't me. So let's just be real for a moment. We're all broken, right? We are all imperfect human beings. We are, and that's okay as long as we acknowledge that and we don't expect perfection out of our spouse. And for men and women, the brokenness manifests itself in different ways. And so bear with me on these next couple points for a little bit. So next slide, please. This is my family, with the exception of this beautiful woman right here. This is Jenna. Third from the left, right? Yeah, right.
It's a lot of women.
I know. It's a lot to keep track of. It's a lot to keep track of. So I've got to give credit to Matt Chandler here. He's the one that really pointed this out to Jenna and I. So this is what Matt Chandler says. You can desire good things, but if you elevate those desires beyond where they are supposed to be, the desire becomes disordered. You become enslaved to that desire. Disordered desires. Disorder meaning you've elevated or put something above something else. You've put something else in front of God. So how does this manifest itself? For Jenna and for a lot of women, it's comparison. I mean, again, let's be real about this. Let's talk about this. Let's figure this out. Let's work together on this. My wife was comparing herself to my family. Clean house, good kids, husbands had good jobs. How can you keep up with that? It's keeping up with the Joneses. And in the most appropriate way, I would say these are some good-looking ladies. And Jenna was she wanted, because at the time she didn't have a great self-image of herself. She didn't have a great self-image. So then she goes and she sees my sisters who are dressed, well, I don't even know what nice ladies' clothes are. Forever 21, is that a good place? I don't know. Louis Vuitton? I don't know. There you go. Nice clothes. Let's go with nice clothes. So her self-image was, I can never look like them. I will never be as good as them. And I'm like, why do you care? This didn't make any sense to me. For crying out loud, we had a show called Mommy Wars. It was about who can be the better parent. We compare it. And we do it too. We look in the business world. I would compare myself to other guys that had things that I thought I wanted. Social media. Ooh. This is dangerous. Because the face that gets put on in social media, for the most part, is I've got this figured out. Like, this is good. I'm in this rhythm, baby. We're good. I mean, let's be honest with ourselves. We've seen people on social media and we look at them and go, they've got it figured out. Or we see people in church, especially here, and we go, dang, they got great kids, they're going to church, they lift their hands up, they got it figured out. They may have some parts figured out. They may. But they're broken. They need Jesus just as much as the rest of us. And He is the only one that gets us out of this comparison. He is the only one. Because what is comparison? It's trying to be someone or something that you're not, looking to achieve perfection. We're not perfect. I know this looks like perfection, but it's not. Jesus, only in Jesus do we find, will we be perfected? And not necessarily this side of heaven either. But that's okay. He gives us grace and gets us out of that comparison. So we're driving from Kansas City to Indianapolis more specifically. It's about an 8-hour drive. Jenna and I break out into a huge fight. At the time, I did not know it was about her. She was comparing herself to my sisters. And I'm like, what is going on? So she's going on about how she doesn't want to go and all this stuff. And I'm like, Jenna, we're 4 hours in. Like, if we're just, yes.
I just want to know, are those all your sisters? Do you have that many sisters? This is totally like...
Yeah, no. Okay, fair question. Fair question. Cousins who moved to Arizona with us, so they're here. Cousin, brother's wife, 2 older sisters, wife, in-law, cousin.
Got it. All right.
Yeah. No.
Did you ever survive?
You just go, yes, master, how may I serve you? So we're discussing, we're arguing in the car. And this was mentioned in the presentation before. The ladies, you have an extreme amount of power over us with words. An extreme amount of power. Y'all can be making fun of me, saying my hair looks funny, my nose is crooked, and my shoulders are too boxy. You know what, I'm going to go home and be like, Jenna, those people are rude. And I'm going to sleep like a baby. But my wife says the right 3 or 4 words string together, it's going to keep me up for weeks. And because of her insecurity, that's what she was doing. She was starting to hit that soft spot. And ladies, you know where it's at. And you decide whether or not you want to hit it. And she was kind of getting in there a little bit, David. You're distracting when somebody's trying to present. It's okay though, I like it. So she was starting to hit that soft spot. And I go, Jenna, I just gotta be real with you right now. You are being a mental terrorist. You can laugh at that. I mean, this was a few years ago. And I told her I was gonna tell this story, and she's like, seriously? I'm like, hey, you're not gonna be there. You can't stop me. But she was. To be fair, she was. And she knew it, and she acknowledged it. But I didn't understand what was going on, so I was also at fault. I wasn't being understanding. I was pushing back on them and being like, hey, just have some self-resolve and get through it. It'll be all right. It's not how it works. It's not how it works. Once Jen and I understood, again, that perfection comes through Jesus Christ, did this comparison start to end? Did I start to let go of... So be content, right? But that doesn't mean you're not trying to achieve greater and better things, right? But only when we realize that perfection comes through Jesus Christ were we able to be content with where we were. Next slide, please. I'm going to have to go through this kind of quick. But men, we're not off the hook. Women typically struggle with comparison. Men, we struggle with selfish passivity and selfish aggression. What does that mean? Again, credit to Matt Chandler here on this stuff. He's the one that pointed this out to Jenna and I. And I would highly, 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 highly recommend his marital study that walks through man's purpose, man's hurdles, and man's redemption, and the same with ladies. Extremely powerful. You want to understand your mate? Go listen to those.
Is that on right now media, you know, or how, is that a book or what?
There's a study. The question was, where do I get the content? There is, you can definitely get it on YouTube. You just type in Matt Chandler, and it's, just type in Matt Chandler marriage. It'll come up. And there is a workbook you can get with it. And we did the workbook with our small group. Side note, if you're not in a small group, find one. You wanna learn, you wanna do life, find a small group. And I'm 2 slides away from why that's really important. Selfish passivity. That comes out in engaging in fantasy rather than reality. I wish I had a bigger house, a better car, you name it. Excuse making or complaining, hiding sin, or laziness. Selfish aggression comes out in turning headship into something to be used for oppression and domination. I think we heard that in the last presentation, right? Could we use headship for oppression? Withholding affection, emotion, and physical, and using money, power, and other things to control your spouse. Only Christ can save us from these things. Romans 6:6 says, we know that our old self was crucified with him in order that the body of sin might be brought to nothing, so that we would no longer be enslaved to sin. We must die to our selfish desires and serve our spouses. So, when Jenna, after she left Wyoming University, she came down to KU, Rock Chalk, and was getting her master's degree to become a speech language pathologist. As you can imagine, going to school to obtain your master's degree is a full-time job. But because it wasn't bringing any money, I didn't see it that way. I was the one who was going to work, who was getting the paycheck, and therefore it was my money. And at the time, I didn't want to admit it, but I was using it to control her spending. We didn't do a great job of setting up a budget. I just bought what I wanted that I thought would fit into the budget, and I told her not to spend money on things like drapes. Guess who needs drapes, right? So I was using money as a tool to take power over my wife. Selfish aggression and passivity. Man, I did both of them in like one big. Those are all struggles, man. Sorry, I gotta pick up the pace. Next slide here. Oops, one more back. We just like to be goofy. We went back to Indiana, not the time we had the argument where I called her Miss Sarah, so another time. And guys, don't use that term. They've heard it now. Your spouse is the most important relationship on this earth. You will individually have to figure out if you're still friends with an ex-girlfriend, boyfriend, whatever, but for me, it was just cut it off. I don't care. This is it, right here. Protect it. Protect it. I was at a work event, and I'm sitting around a table with a bunch of executives. And I told them, I said, I don't even know how it came up. I think whatever. And I said, I will not, and they're all in sales, so like anything, almost anything goes in sales, right? And they all said, or I told them, I will not go out to dinner with another woman one-on-one. They're like, what, why? What if they're the decision maker? What if they're the one signing the contract? I'm like, I don't care. Somebody else has got to be there. I'm not doing it. I have to protect my marriage. And you have to protect the perception of that too, because if somebody sees you out with another woman having a nice dinner when you're out in San Diego or wherever, you never know who's going to see you. You never know. Protect it. There's no reason. Have somebody else come with you if it's that important. Chances are there's not just one person making a decision on something like that. You heard this in the last presentation too, but a negative word should never leave your mouth about your spouse outside their sole presence. If you have something bad to say about your spouse, tell them. Not your girlfriends, not your boyfriends. And if they're jaw-jacking about their spouses, say, guys, you know what? I love y'all, but I can't do this. I'm out. Take a stand. You are going into a covenant relationship. You are going into a covenant relationship. If you move away from your friends, proximity is the first psychological filter you have to get through for a relationship. If you move away from those friends, that relationship will start to dwindle. You may still have it. I mean, I still talk with friends that are back in Indiana, but maybe once a quarter. Your wife or your husband is the most important relationship you have. You have to live with them. Hopefully that doesn't sound like a bad thing right now, because if it doesn't, no, I'm just kidding. Have fun. Have fun. Be goofy. Be weird. Normal sucks. All right? Normal sucks. Felt like Dave Ramsey there for a second. Normal's broke. Normal sucks. All right, nobody knows who Dave Ramsey is, I guess. Be transparent. I'm breaking rule number 1 again. I know. Be transparent. I always mess this up on the first run, so just bear with me. So this is you, this is me. This is the known. This is the unknown. This is the known. This is the unknown. What you and I know is public knowledge, also called light. What you and I don't know, still the unknown. What I know and you don't is private. What, see, I told you, I messed that up. Sorry if you were taking notes. What I don't know and you know, those are blind spots. Other people call them bad breath things. Like when you say during your presentation, it's really annoying. Thanks for telling me, guys. What I know and you don't is private. If this is you and this is your spouse, how do I get this so y'all can see it? This should not exist. This should not exist. You should not have a private life away from your spouse. I've told you I paid for my sin. And I have continued to pay for it because being physical early in a relationship puts a emphasis on being physical. And when the physical aspect of the relationship doesn't come, where do you think a young man is going to turn? Holy crap. Holy cow. Or is that?
Holy cow crap.
Holy, yeah. Holy cow that is. Sorry. All right, we're off on a tangent. David. I'm sorry, I hope y'all can see this. This is by far the hardest conversation I've had with my wife. Honey, I struggle. Ooh, what? Yeah. Baby, I still love you. We're broken human beings, I still love you. Powerful stuff. This should not exist. As you do this, you push into here, and identify your blind spots. And do this carefully, right? Honey, I hate that you never use your turn signal when you change lanes. You're going to get in an accident one day. There's probably one way to say that it's good, and maybe about 35 that are bad. All right? Find the one. As you do this, you will explore this beautiful unknown space. Ways you didn't know you could love your spouse. Ways you had never thought of. When I watch my wife love our daughter, my heart melts. It melts. I had no idea when we first got married. We push constantly this boundary. This should not exist. And it's tough. I'm not saying it's not. It's tough. Next slide. Oh. Roger, we're not going to make it through. Y'all okay till like 4? We got water, right? Yeah, you don't it's like me. You just need water. Do we realize that you're going to let each other down at some point?
Yes.
Do you acknowledge that?
Yes.
If you haven't already, you're going to. You're going to. You're going to. You're going to. Hopefully not too much. But, I mean, my wife's not working with a lot here. She's trying really hard. But throw out some of your expectations. You'll be surprised. You'll be surprised. I tell Jenna, keep that bar so low I can step over it. I don't need to jump. She doesn't let me do that though. So for about 2.5 years, I traveled from Kansas City to Phoenix, Arizona, Monday to Thursday, 47 weeks out of the year. Yeah, talk about just having a roommate. It was one of those mornings that was really busy. Like you wake up and your stuff's already hit your inbox and you're trying to get on your phone, you get on the plane, you throw your computer open, you're working, connecting to Wi-Fi and all this stuff. You land and you've got a busy day. You're meeting with people and you're just going. I am walking between the hospital and the IT office, about the only place I got service. I'm like, I'm gonna call my wife. Just say hello. I have 2 minutes and 15 seconds. I'm gonna say hi. So I call her, say hi. And she's like, oh yeah, my day's going fine. She goes, I just hear the foot in the background. You got something you want to tell me? Oh shoot. Did I break a plate and try and hide it? Like, what did I do? You want to tell me happy birthday? Oh. Baby, I'm sorry. I'm so sorry. So I go on to explain that I didn't forget her birthday was on June 15th. I forgot today was June 15th.
That's a good one.
It was true. It was true. I was not trying to save my own skin. That was the truth. I don't even know what today is. 23rd.
She bought you that watch, didn't she?
She did not. All that traveling did. You're going to let each other down. I will never, never live the fact down that I forgot her birthday. Even though I know in my brain her birthday, June 15th, 1989, the most beautiful woman in the world arrived. I know that. But she, and rightfully so, she harasses me about that one. 2 years ago, we decided to embark on a journey to get pregnant. Lo and behold, 2 years ago, we decided to move as well. So we moved down here, and we start coming to SBC and get immediately connected with a small group that has similar staged couples, meaning they had either just had babies, they were pregnant, or trying to. We get pregnant at the first run. Woohoo, yeah, I got it, baby. That was in October. What comes before October? September? Yeah. We had a miscarriage in October. You know who surrounded us in that time? Our small group. They prayed for us. They hugged us. They let us cry on their shoulders. It sucked. Life is going to kick you in the balls. It is. It just is. And if you're not bound together, with your spouse in the grace and the love of Christ, it's going to be so much harder. Going through a miscarriage and subsequent year and a half of trying to get pregnant and being disappointed every 30 days was not easy. What's wrong with me? Honey, nothing's wrong with you. It's okay. It's okay. It's okay. There was nothing for me to fix. There was no board I could glue together. There was no wheel I could screw back on. There was nothing I could do except love her, hug her, and say, it's okay, baby. It's okay. It's okay. We'll keep trying. It's okay. Imagine going through something like that and your relationship is broken. It already is. But luckily, I erased it. We had started to figure out the triangle thing that I talked about earlier. Luckily, that was at the center, and we had found a small group because we had decided to walk up to Rustin Russello because he asked us to and say, Rustin, we're new, plug me in. Plug me in. Do not waste time connecting with your brothers and sisters in Christ. Do not waste time. Life is going to kick you in the balls. It just is. You're going to disappoint each other. You just are. But it's okay. It's all good. Love. Have love for each other. Have grace for each other. I got 5 minutes. So, this picture. The woman who took it was one of our friends from our small group, had been through IVF twice. Failed both times. After the second time, got naturally pregnant. She took that picture. Do you know what that is in my hand? Positive pregnancy test. That's the only reason we have that, because she just happened to be there. God is good, and only in His time. God is good, only in His time. 1 Peter 5:7. Casting all your anxieties on Him because He cares for you. Casting all your anxieties on Him because He cares for you. Oh. That weight just dropped. Man, that feels good. It's got to feel good. Okay, we're going to burn through these. Next one, please, good sir. Those are our puppies. Yeah, they're so cute. Accept influence from your spouse. I did not want a second dog. And I know they're adorable, but my wife did. But you know what's more important to me than another dog that's going to be a lot more work? Is serving my wife. When my wife asks me for something, I say, yeah, baby. It may not be today. It might be 10 years from now. But we'll get there. Next slide. Intentionality. Nothing happens on its own. And this goes for communication as well. The single biggest problem in communication is the illusion that it has taken place. Communicate, 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 communicate. Have intentionality. Be precise. There's like this new wave, and within evangelicals, it's like, you need to have a date night every week. That's great if you can make that work, but there may be seasons of your life where it's not. It's not a sin if you don't go on a date. I feel comfortable saying that. But try. Enjoy your spouse. Have fun. Have fun. Have fun. Next slide, please. This would be something like postmodern or millennial, which I am one, sorry, would say, just because you're right does not mean I am wrong. You haven't seen it from my side, which is absolutely true. Try and put yourself in your spouse's shoes. Nobody wins in a fight when you're arguing against each other. Men, let's acknowledge that when we win a fight, we lose. You won't win one, but when you do, by chance, you lose.
When the illusion happens.
Yeah. Ladies, when you win a fight, which you will win most of them, you lose. You lose. Nobody wants to be beaten down. Nobody likes to be told they're an idiot. Nobody wants to be. I mean, you guys love each other, right? I mean, that's why you're here. Why let something pull you apart? Come together. Matthew 5:7-3. It's the speck in the eye verse. I think we've all heard it. I won't read it in the interest of time. Next slide, please. Because I want you to write these down. I want you to write these down. I want you to write these down. Reactive versus redemptive. Reactive focuses on the what. Redemptive focuses on the why. It is not the fork you left on the table, even though that is what we are arguing about. There is usually something behind that is the issue. Get behind the veil. Get behind it. It is not the fork on the table. Do not be reactive. Be redemptive. And men, just serve your wife. You may be the head of the household, but you're not always the leader. Heads of homes serve. And I will not beat this horse to death right now because I know it's been talked about a lot today. Serve, serve, serve. We are meant to work and we are meant to serve. Ephesians 5:25. Husbands, love your wives as Christ loved the church and gave himself up for her, that he might sanctify her, having cleansed her by the washing of the water with the word, so that he might present the church to himself in splendor, without spot or wrinkle or any such thing, that she might be holy and without blemish. Are you treating your spouse that she may be without blemish? I do sometimes. Not always. If something is bothering you, bring it up. Does everyone know the science experiment about the boiling frogs? If you are boiling water, you drop a frog in it, it jumps out. If you put the frog in non-boiling water that's just room temperature and start to boil it, the frog will not jump out and it will die. Do not let the little things that eat at you become the boiling water. Yeah, if you explode, because that's what's going to happen, you'll notice it. And you're like, whoa, where's that coming from? I've been mad for 6 months. Whoops. Hearing is an act of the senses. Listening is an act of the mind. Listen, listen, listen. next slide, and next one, there are puppies again, sorry, I skipped over that one. Those are those stats I was talking about earlier. Hey, within the confines of marriage, sex is awesome. And it's even better when I know my wife loves Christ. Because we are connecting on that deeper level. We are getting past the superficial. And we are diving down way deep into our very souls of who we are as people. And you can go to the last one, but it's just another picture. I do apologize for going over today. And thank you guys for listening to me. If there's anything myself or anybody of your table mentors here can do, please let us know. We are here to you. We care for you. We want you to be successful. We want you to love Jesus. We want you to have a thriving, growing, flourishing relationship. And you know what? Your spouse does too. Or your respective potential spouse does too. Your fiancés, wherever you guys are at in the thing. Don't forget that. Don't forget that. Life is it's gonna hit. It's gonna knock you down. But you know what? Where you used to probably have to pick yourself up, now somebody's gonna reach down their arm and pick you up. If they're honoring their covenant with you. If you are not honoring it, when life kicks them, you'll be right there with them. Don't do that. That's not cool. Don't kick a brother when he's down. All right. Questions? Or did I... Not everyone's sleeping. That's good. One person's smiling. I like it. Let's work with it. Fire. I did not teach you everything you need to know about marriage. Don't be bashful. Everyone wants to go home. Lunch food is settled in.
I'll ask a question on behalf of the couples. Saved. If there are any couples here that have not waited and are already involved in like a physical, what would your advice for them be at this stage? Because, I see these statistics up here and it looks like, well, blew it already, so.
Yeah, it would certainly appear that way, but no, not necessarily. I would get in contact with your table mentors or a pastor or somebody like that and commit to being abstinent. So when we did our premarital counseling, my psychology professor at a Christian university did it, and we told him that we were engaging in those activities, and he totally blew it off. And now I'm like, bro, where was the assist? But, yeah, stuff happens. So no, not all is lost. Not all is lost. So please don't have that feeling. So I can only speak from a perspective of what I think, not what I know. So I think, and I'm sure many would argue, based on probably some other statistics and research that I personally have not done, but if you choose to be abstinent, it is going to make the wedding night more special because it's going to be like the first time again. Just because you have sinned does not mean you continue going on sinning. Well, I lied once, so I'm never going to tell the truth again. Come on. The logic, it doesn't have any legs to stand on. Don't continue sinning. And we're all broken. We're all broken. I am not standing up here telling you I am the perfect human being. I have told you my blunders. And they continue. I sometimes get angry at my wife. A white lie is a lie, right? I mean, we got to ask for forgiveness. We need a creator.
In Christ, and this is from numerous verses.
Mm-hmm.
In Christ, I am loved, I am redeemed, forgiven, chosen, new, complete, a conqueror, and a citizen in heaven. So, in Christ, if you turn towards God as opposed to a way in terms of obedience, a believer you can be made brand new. I didn't have an example of it. So if, which is more the norm than not, you know, living together, when you're showing honor to your betrothed by making a decision before you get married, even if it's just for a short while, it's still an action that's honoring God first and foremost, and through that it honors your betrothed. And as a leader, as a man, and being called to do that, if you actually take action to do that, everything that happened before, it doesn't mean that we won't reap something from the past,
Yep.
but it will create a newness, not only in yourself, but in your relationship with
Yep.
your wife.
Yep. It's disordered desire. Remember that term I mentioned earlier? Disordered desire. If sex becomes the ultimate, what will eventually end up happening is it becomes this tool. It elevates the self, right? Because it becomes this tool of which I want my needs satisfied, or I want to feel good. And when that tool no longer meets that need, you end up with hallway sex, where you're walking down the hallway and you say, "Screw you." Okay. I tried. I thought that one would hit a little better. So yes, David, great point. Thank you. And good question. For God so loved the world that he gave his only Son, for whoever believes in him shall have eternal life. God loves you. Plain and simple, God loves you. Your spouse loves you. Don't forget it. One more thing, and Roger, I apologize, I'll be done. These things, do not let them get in the way of your relationship. Instagram, Facebook, text. You interact with somebody, put that down. Put that down. Good. Any other questions? Okay, didn't think so. You all ready to go home? Thanks, guys.
Thanks, Brady. Just thinking, standing back there and seeing you up here, and you've probably heard this 1,000 times, that your name is not right. It should be Brady Tall, and not Brady Small, right? How many times have you heard that one? Yeah. Okay, enough of that. Let's pray, and then if your table people, if you want to talk on this subject for a little longer, otherwise we're officially done and for the day. But stay with your tables if you'd like. But let me just pray. Oh, tomorrow we move to room A6, which is just across from here. So we won't meet in this room, but in A6, and we start at 10:45. And we'd like to get going right on time because we do have a tight schedule, and so if you can be in the rooms and all set up, and we'll be here at 10:45 ready to go. And that will be a miracle if that happens, but I'm praying it will. Heavenly Father, I just thank you for today. Thank you for all our speakers and just their love for you and just for these couples. And we just thank you that we could meet together with you. And in Jesus' name we pray. Amen.